Racketeering can include a range of criminal acts such as fraud, bribery, money laundering, trafficking, sex trafficking, and more.
Including one instance of kidnapping during which Combs carried and displayed a firearm to a female victim, so that part is new.
Interview 1. The internet was shaken by a viral video alleging that music mogul Sean Diddy Combs collapsed.
A gag order, and I'm not going to walk out of court and do anything other than
listen to everybody, but you believe all proof.
Believe the facts.
This video is proof.
Hands down.
In a stunning courtroom appearance that left onlookers buzzing, Sean Diddy Combs, once a titan of the music and entertainment world, cut a shocking figure as he faced a laundry list of fresh allegations. The man who had once commanded global stages and red carpets now shuffled into a wood-paneled New York courtroom looking unrecognizable. Reports described his appearance as bloated and unkempt, with his tan prison-issued jumpsuit hanging loosely around his frame, and a scruffy gray beard framing a face that seemed to carry the weight of the world. Gone was the polished magnet image of the Bad Boy Records mastermind. Instead, what stood before the court was a man visibly weathered by months of incarceration, legal battles, and public scrutiny.
At the end of the day, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we're going to start to see that.
The scene unfolded to a packed gallery. Family members, including his mother Janice, and children sat quietly in support, their expressions a mix of concern and resilience. As Diddy entered the room, he greeted them with a faint smile and blew a two-handed kiss, a rare moment of warmth in an otherwise tense proceeding. But it wasn't long before the gravity of the situation took center stage. The hearing was to address the latest allegations against him, which painted a damning picture of a man accused of wielding power and influence in deeply troubling ways.
Pledged to give up his passport to prevent any quick getaways to tropical hideaways, and agreed to house arrest. He basically pleaded, "I'll stay locked at home. Just keep me out of jail." His lawyer also proposed regular illicit item tests, nightly visitor logs, and strict limits on female visitors, only allowing family members like his mom, daughters, and their mothers. Diddy was throwing down every card he had, doing whatever it took to convince the judge to release him.
Sean Diddy Combs ordered to stay behind bars. His lawyers offered up his Miami home, his mother's home, as well as collateral. Also, he would forfeit his passport, but it wasn't enough to keep him out of jail until trial.
Despite the impressive bail proposal, the judge refused to budge. And here's where things got dicey. The prosecution laid out a strong argument that Diddy wasn't exactly a guy you could trust to stay out of trouble. They dug into his past and revealed some pretty damaging information. One standout detail was a series of unsettling old texts. In one message from 2016, Diddy seemed desperate, practically begging for help. He'd just been seen on camera in a hotel with ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, and in a panic he texted, "Call me, the cops are here. I got 6 kids, please call. I'm surrounded. You're going to abandon me all alone?" The text painted a picture of someone who could get manipulative when things got heated.
Here's the twist. The viral video is highly misleading. Despite its bombastic title, no collapse occurred in court, and no life sentence was issued. Instead, beneath the dramatic visuals lies a far more complex story of legal maneuvering, relentless accusations, and a legal battle that is only just beginning. As we dig deeper into the unfolding case, critical questions emerge. Has Diddy been caught lying in court again? What evidence does the judge actually possess? How serious are the charges?
2 new federal charges in his sex trafficking and racketeering case. With trial set to start in just weeks, we're going to break down what the government is now alleging with their 3rd superseding indictment, and also the government's new request of the court to protect the identities of certain alleged victims who plan to testify. When employees, witnesses to his abuse, or others threaten Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise engaged in acts of violence, threats of financial and reputational harm, and verbal abuse. These acts of violence included arson and multiple acts of kidnapping, including one instance of kidnapping during which Combs carried and displayed a firearm to a female victim, so that part is new. In addition, on multiple occasions, Combs threw both objects and people, as well as hit, dragged, choked, and shoved others. On one occasion, Combs dangled a female victim over an apartment balcony. Now, that addition, Nima, of female and female, to clarify that, this is not, I mean, in fairness, this is not a paper for my doctoral thesis where I want to make sure everything is as specific as possible. Why does it matter? Why do they have to add female victim? If aren't they gonna argue that anyway at trial? I don't understand why they had to be so precise there.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a female or a male. We're talking about RICO predicate acts, right? So obviously under the statute, you have to have 2 or more of these acts, and we've gone through them: kidnapping, arson, extortion, other crimes of violence. But it can be to a male, it could be to a female. I don't think that's going to change the case one way or another. So you're right, Jesse, it's not necessary to identify whether the victim is male or female.
At the center of this unfolding legal drama, the stakes couldn't be higher. The allegations against Diddy aren't just numerous, they're potentially explosive. Each claim is like a ticking time bomb that, if it leads to a conviction, could result in him spending the rest of his life in prison. Imagine facing not only the collapse of your career and empire, but also the chilling reality of decades, or even a lifetime, behind bars.
Former rap mogul with additional sex trafficking charges. ABC News' chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is here with those details. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning, Tanae. Sean Combs is set to go on trial 1 month from today, and the case against him just got a little bigger. This morning, Sean Diddy Combs faces 2 additional criminal charges a month before he's scheduled to stand trial in New York. Federal prosecutors charge Combs with an additional count of sex trafficking and an additional count of transportation to engage in prostitution. Both relate to an individual referred to in court papers as Victim 2. Combs previously pleaded not guilty to 1 count of each of those charges, as well as the most serious charge he faces, racketeering conspiracy.
For Sean Combs, the challenge in this new superseding indictment is that any one alleged victim could amount to serious prison time. He would have to disprove each and every one of the 4 alleged victims, because if even one is believed, he could serve life behind bars.
Combs now faces a total of 5 federal counts that could get him decades in prison if convicted. His attorneys are downplaying the new indictment, saying in a statement these are not new allegations or new accusers. These are the same individuals, former long-term girlfriends who were involved in consensual relationships. This was their private sex life, defined by consent, not coercion. But the indictment says Combs lured women under the pretense of a romantic relationship into engaging in sexual encounters. And when he didn't get his way, prosecutors allege Combs kidnapped a woman, flashed a gun, and dangled a female victim over an apartment balcony.
Rapper Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial is now set to begin next year, and prosecutors are hinting that they could potentially bring new charges against the music mogul.
Janley Painter here with all the details. Jen.
Hey, Todd and Carly. So May 5th, 2025, that is the day Sean Diddy Combs' trial is expected to begin. And according to those inside the federal courtroom yesterday, Combs was all smiles, wearing a jail uniform and shackled at the ankles. And at one point, he turned towards the gallery, waving and blowing kisses to his family, who showed up to support him, including his mother and many of his children. Combs was arrested in September on several charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy, where he faces a possible sentence of 15 years to life behind bars if convicted. And during yesterday's hearing, attorneys discussed issues regarding the evidence discovery process, including the data extraction of nearly 100 electronic devices seized during searches of Combs' residences. Prosecutors making clear in court, quote, "Our investigation is very much ongoing," and they hinted that additional charges against the music mogul are possible. But here's what his defense team told reporters after court.
He's making an adjustment. He had his family here today to support him. We really want to put an end to all of the clowning that we see on the internet. This is a serious proceeding with serious consequences, and all of us are addressing it accordingly.
Combs is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn.
At the heart of these escalating accusations is a superseding indictment that expands on Diddy's previous charges, painting an even darker picture. He now faces serious allegations including sex trafficking, racketeering, coercion, and the abuse of multiple women, an alarming list of crimes that, if proven, would point to a deeply rooted pattern of exploitation. The indictment claims he used his wealth, status, and influence to force women into commercial sex acts. One particularly disturbing allegation describes him hanging a victim.
Prosecutors in New York have filed their third superseding indictment against Sean Diddy Combs. The new indictment adds an additional charge of sex trafficking and an additional charge of transportation to engage in prostitution. That could mean additional prison time if Diddy's convicted. Chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is here with more on that. So, Aaron, what's the latest on this indictment?
Third one. And these new charges, these new counts, he's already faced sex trafficking and the prostitution charges, relate to a different victim, a victim number 2. We don't know who that is, not identified in court papers, but we know there are a total of 3 alleged victims who form the basis of the criminal case against Sean Combs. So now with the additional counts, it brings the total number of charges that Diddy is facing to 5. So he's looking at the possibility, as you say, of extra prison time potentially if he's convicted of those.
So what's next in this case now? And any response from Diddy?
We haven't heard yet. We've asked Diddy's team for any kind of a response. He has previously pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution charges, along with the big count against him, the racketeering conspiracy that exposes him potentially to the most prison time if he's convicted. His legal team, I would imagine, would say the same thing, that he didn't do any of this. And the next step is for him to go on trial. It's scheduled to begin on May 5th with jury selection and opening statements on May 12th.
Is it possible that this is all in reference to Dawn Richard? Maybe. Although I will tell you, she didn't, in her lawsuit, necessarily allege that she engaged in sex acts per se with Sean Combs. She said that he assaulted her. Although I will tell you, she did indicate in her lawsuit that Combs' assistant, so an employee, engaged in group sex with Combs and other men. But why add this specific paragraph in a superseding indictment, right? Well, maybe supporting her potential testimony as a key witness in the case, or whoever will testify. And what you are seeing, though, is how much prosecutors may be relying on forced labor to support their underlying racketeering charge. Remember, this is the main charge of this case. It's a charge that carries potentially up to life in prison. So they really, really want to get Sean Combs on this. And in order to get to racketeering conspiracy, count 1, prosecutors need to show underlying crimes to get to that charge, need to show the criminal enterprise. What were the illicit activities this alleged criminal enterprise were involved in? Forced labor may be a more straightforward way to get there. And to give you an idea about what we're talking about with forced labor, this is how it's defined under the United States Code. Whoever knowingly provides or obtains the labor or services of a person by any one of or by any combination of the following means, by means of force, threats of force, physical restraint, or threats of physical restraint to that person or another person.
One of the most damaging aspects of the case is the potential use of the racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations, RICO, statute, a law originally designed to dismantle organized crime. RICO allows prosecutors to link multiple illegal acts into one overarching conspiracy, painting a broader and more damning picture of criminal behavior. In Diddy's case, this means he could be held responsible not just for individual offenses, but for any crimes committed under the alleged criminal networks associated